You ever see a moment in football that stops you in your tracks? A moment where the air shifts, the energy spikes, and you realize right then and there, you're witnessing something the league isn't prepared for. That's exactly what this was. Two so-called afterthoughts. Players the NFL machine had already filed away as depth chart fillers, finding themselves face-to-face again. And not in the safety of a college campus, not in the quiet of an off-season throwing session, but under the suffocating heat of a joint NFL practice. No mercy, no protection. Every rep under the eyes of coaches, scouts, cameras, and teammates. Every rep feeling like a test you can't afford to fail. On one side of the field, Sanders, fourth on the Browns' depth chart, hidden so deep in the rotation you could almost forget he was there if you weren't paying attention. On the other, Jimmy Horn Jr., the so-called sixth-round throwaway, dressed in Carolina blue, a man who'd been shrugged off before his name was even called. And here's what made it electric. No handshakes, no sentimental smiles, no slow jog across the field to catch up. Instead, there was this quiet, unshakable understanding. We're here to prove every single one of you wrong. The wild part. Sanders didn't even have a highlight reel day by stat sheet standards. No bombs down the sideline. Number 300-yard heroics. He went for completions on 7 throws. No touchdowns, no interceptions. But clean, sharp, surgical. And if you've ever really watched a quarterback operate, you know what I mean when I say this. The stats didn't matter. It was how he played. From the very first snap, you could feel it. The pocket didn't just protect him, it seemed to bend around him. He had this way of sliding, resetting, buying half a second without panic, without wasted motion. Every time he stepped under center, the field's energy changed. It was like flipping a switch. Teammates straightened up, eyes locked in, and the defense got just a little quieter. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, Jimmy Horn Jr. was putting on his own personal fireworks show. He wasn't just getting separation, he was erasing defenders. Quick off the line, smooth in his breaks, fearless across the middle. It's the heartbeat of Colorado, now being called one of the best steals of the 2025 draft by Panthers coaches. And on this day, you saw exactly why. And suddenly, there's a question nobody in the media room seems eager to answer. If these two can walk into an NFL practice and own it like this, why were they both ignored in the league's blueprint from the start? Sanders. Day on paper, 4.47, but the paper lies. While other quarterbacks chase splash plays for the highlight reel, Sanders was doing what grown quarterbacks do, commanding the huddle, making the right reads, controlling the tempo. No panic when the pocket collapsed, no wild heaves under pressure, just calculated, controlled football. And that's worth more than any preseason deep shot. Because when you're QB4, every single rep is a battle. Every snap is currency. And Sanders spent his wisely. Now put him against the rest of Cleveland's quarterback room. Joe Flacco, veteran presence, steady but predictable. Kenny Pickett, fresh off injury, flashes here and there but still shaking off the rust. Dylan Gabriel, drafted ahead of Sanders but still searching for control of the offense. Tyler Huntley, just arrived, still memorizing the playbook. And yet, despite the reps, despite the opportunities, Sanders is the one with the cleanest camp of them all. No turnovers, no wasted drives. The sharpest decision-making of the group, and still, buried. Why? Because this isn't about who's performing. This is about who fits the story they want to tell. And Sanders, he was never supposed to be part of that story. Across the way, Jimmy Horn Jr. kept stacking plays. Route after route, win after win. The connection between him and Sanders, the one that lit up Jackson State and Colorado, still lived under the surface. They didn't even need to throw to each other for you to feel it. The way they carried themselves, the quick nods in passing, it was there. But here's the thing about Sanders. His biggest fight right now isn't against a defensive front. It's against the politics of the NFL. Even without Deion Sanders walking into camp, the shadow is there. And Sanders knows better than anyone the second primetime shows up. The circus rolls in. Cameras, hot takes, clickbait headlines. And the Browns, they'd use it as one more reason to keep him on the sideline. The Deion effect is more than celebrity. It's about power, control, and the uncomfortable truth that the league doesn't like when a star emerges that they didn't personally anoint. But fans see through it. Social media is flooded with clips, Sanders dropping dimes, navigating pressure, outplaying the guys ahead of him. And now, with Sanders named starter for the preseason opener against Carolina, all the noise gets stripped away. Friday night, there's no hiding. No, we're just easing him in. No, it's too soon. Sanders will be right there, under the lights across from Jimmy Horn Jr. Two underdogs ready to set the place on fire. For Sanders, this is more than a preseason game. This is where he takes the pen and writes his own chapter. This is where he proves he's not just a name, he's the name. And when that ball gets snapped for the first time, the politics vanish. The depth chart doesn't matter. It's just Sanders, the ball, and the truth the league's been ducking. And believe me, they might not be ready for what's coming. You ever watch a press room walk in thinking they're about to control the story, and then watch them leave looking like they just got run over by their own plan? I saw it happen in real time with Sanders. And let me tell you, this wasn't just another post-practice media session. This was a lesson, a case study, a masterclass in how you take someone's agenda, fold it neatly, and hand it back to them upside down. They opened with the classic, the friendly opener. Where do you feel you've grown the most on the field? Or off? Sounds warm. Sounds supportive. But I've been around long enough to know that's not curiosity. That's bait, disguised as small talk. Sanders didn't even blink. No hesitation. No processing pause. Just mentally. No question. Simple. Solid. And then he built on it. Said it doesn't matter whether the media spins things positive or negative. He's not the same guy he was in college. He treats people with respect, even when they hate him for reasons they can't. Even explain, he stays grounded. That right there? That was the first quiet haymaker. They came for mistakes. He gave them maturity. They came for fumbles. He handed them finesse. You've got to understand something about the sports media. They live for a manufactured narrative. And when they see a young, articulate quarterback with generational bloodlines, the kind of charisma you can't teach, and a way of carrying himself that doesn't ask for approval, they smell an opening. They show up with preloaded questions. They walk in holding baited hooks. And their dream scenario is getting you to give them a clip they can loop on repeat. A single sentence they can stretch into an entire week's worth of headlines. But what they ran into that day wasn't a rookie quarterback they could push around. They ran into a chess master at a checker convention. Then came the dagger. Some critics say you haven't proven anything yet. How do you respond? I've seen that question ruin young players before. It's a trap disguised as an opportunity. If you defend yourself too hard, you sound insecure. If you downplay it, you sound unsure. Either way, they win. But Sanders, he smiled. And not just any smile, the kind of smile you give when you already know the ending to the movie, and you're just waiting for the rest of the room to catch. His answer was smooth, measured, surgical. He didn't just sidestep their punch, he caught it in his bare hands, spun it around, and sent it flying right back. And here's the thing people don't realize, that kind of poise is never an accident. It's the product of years under a pressure cooker, and not the kind of pressure most people know. We're talking about growing up in a spotlight where one wrong word becomes tomorrow's headline. Talk to his parents. Straight. There's never been a day Sanders walked into a room unready. And that day, no theatrics, no rolling his eyes, no let me show you bravado, just carefully chosen words, perfectly placed pauses. That look in his eyes like he's not just hearing the question, he's already seeing the next three they're about to ask. By the time the reporters realized they were being outmaneuvered, Sanders was already halfway through his Gatorade, laughing with teammates. The cameras were still rolling. The storyline had been flipped completely inside out. They came for controversy. They left with clarity. What Sanders gave them wasn't attitude, it was altitude. Because here's the truth. Being young doesn't mean you're naive. And confidence? That's not carelessness. It's knowing exactly who you are and refusing to let anyone Photoshop you into their flawed version of the story. And man, the look on those reporters' faces was priceless. Eyebrows creeping up, mics slowly leaning back, pages of notes suddenly looking useless. It was like watching someone realize their GPS has been wrong the whole drive. Then came the one that made the whole room lean in. Why aren't you getting first-team reps? That is not a question you ask a late-round rookie a week in a camp. It's not curiosity, it's bait for frustration. It's a slow pitch they want you to swing at in anger. Sanders didn't swing. He didn't even move his feet. "That's not my call," he said, calm as ever. "I'm just focused on doing my part and being grateful for the opportunity." That wasn't just poise. That was a deflection drill disguised as humility. And the way he said it, you could see he knew exactly what was happening. It's all in the eyes. While the question was still being asked, he was already running the mental film. Reading the coverage, jumping the route, intercepting the narrative before the ball even left the journalist's hand, and the body language, chef's kiss, leaning back in his chair like it was a throne, answering loaded questions like they were bedtime stories for trolls. No panic. No stutter. Just control. They came with shovels. They hit concrete. Because here's the thing, you don't trap a Sanders. He's been watching this game his entire life. Watching how the media spins, twists, and manufactures drama. Watching them try to bait his father into fights. He's studied the circus. And if you've studied the circus long enough, the clowns don't scare you. This isn't about weather. He can play. The tape already proves that. This is about flipping the politics. Flipping the power dynamic. Running the interview the way you'd run a 2-minute drill, in complete control. By the time the press was back at their laptops typing up critiques, Sanders was back on the field, dropping another perfect spiral, micked up, quotable, and completely unbothered. They can doubt him. They can poke at him. They can try to frame him. But Sanders doesn't just play the game. He rewrites the playbook. They wanted volatility. They got vision. And from that moment on, the media didn't get to steer the ship anymore because Sanders had already taken the wheel.